Metabolic syndrome is now one of the leading causes of death and the most common group of diseases. A person with two or more of the following health conditions may be classed as having a metabolic syndrome: the type 2 diabetes, high fasting blood glucose, big belly or abdominal obese, high bad cholesterol, low good cholesterol, high blood pressure, i.e. hypertension, the atherosclerosis, PCOS in women, neurodegenerative disease, fatty liver disease, and the list goes on. But we can outsmart these debilitating health issues by performing some health checks to get ahead of the game when it comes to knowing in advance and preventing those pesky degenerative metabolic diseases. In this episode, I discuss 8 groups of lab tests we should be doing in order to keep a close eye on our overall health and well-being. Here are the lab tests. These groups of tests gives you information on how well your body is managing blood sugars, the glucose. Insulin problems usually start many years before the blood sugar level starts to rise, so the fasting insulin biomarker is a lab test that helps us figure out if we're heading towards type 2 diabetes. The hemoglobin A1C, the HbA1c, measures the average 3 months damaged sugars attached to our red blood cell, and HbA1c over 5.6% is a step closer to type 2 diabetes, as shown here on the screen. The fasting blood glucose of 80 to 95 milligram per deciliter is what we want to be maintaining at all times. And leptin is a hormone released by the fat cells that tells the brain to turn on the hunger signal. And excess production of leptin can result in leptin resistance in the brain, meaning that we're always hungry and overeating, and then leads to insulin resistance and type 2 diabetes. Checking up on your digestive health. Intestinal hyperpermeability test checks for leaky gut, and leaky gut was discussed in depth in another episode. The anti-tissue transglutaminase checks for celiac diseases and damages to the gut wall. Immunoglobulin E, IgE, detects allergies and antigens in the bloodstream. And H. pylori checks for bacterial infection in the gut that disrupts the normal function of the gastric acid and the proper digestion. An anti-nuclear antibody, ANA, checks to see if you have any autoimmune disorder and or some kind of infection present in the body. Inflammation. Systemic low-grade inflammation in the body is bad news, and it promotes chronic diseases. We want to keep inflammation in check. C-reactive protein, ESR, and IL-6 will give some data about your inflammation status. We want these numbers to be as close to null as possible. The lactate dehydrogenase, LDH levels, tells us if there is organ damage in the body, but doesn't give specifics on which organ is in distress. More investigation is required if this is elevated. Checking up on the health of the liver. ALT, AST, ALP, and GGT are all liver enzymes. If they're elevated, then it means the liver is under some kind of stress. Alcohol, excessive consumption of fructose, soft sugary drinks, and starchy foods will create liver damage and fatty liver disease. Food additives and chemical preservatives can also cause the liver to become inflamed and have these enzymes elevated. If these enzymes are highly raised, then it makes sense to avoid those problematic foods and take some supplements to support the liver function. Checking the health of the heart and the blood vessels. Cholesterols are different types of fats in the bloodstream. Your liver will make these different types of cholesterol in response to damages in the artery. You can also absorb cholesterol from the foods you eat. Lipoprotein A is a sticky type of LDL cholesterol and the most dangerous one. ApoB or apolipoprotein B is the bus that carries the bad cholesterol, i.e. LDL and triglycerides, around in the bloodstream. Homocysteine levels tells us about potential heart issues and nutrient deficiency in key vitamins. We want to maintain a healthy blood pressure to avoid complications in our vital organs, including the brain. Kidney health checks. eGFR is a good way to measure how well the kidney is filtering out the bad stuff from our bloodstream while keeping in the good stuff. So we want the eGFR number to be very high. Ideally, over 80 to about 120 is optimal range. High uric acid will wreak havoc on the entire body. Gout is the most widely known symptoms of elevated uric acid, but it does a lot more damage to the body beyond gout. Cystatin C is a protein in the bloodstream. A healthy kidney will maintain the right amount of cystatin C in your blood. If the cystatin C level is too high, it could signal kidney problems. Creatinine is another kidney function biomarker, but the result can be skewed up for those taking creatine supplements, something to bear in mind. Thyroid health. Without your thyroid, you will be fatigued and start to gain weight very quickly, in addition to other hormonal imbalances health issues. TSH, FT4, and FT3 are the hormones we want to measure and keep in certain balance. TPO and antithyroid globulin allow you to see if your thyroid is under attack by your immune system, so that an action can be taken to stop the attack before the thyroid is destroyed. Detailed information on how to maintain a healthy thyroid function is discussed in another episode. You can go ahead and take a look at that. Nutritional status, the vitamins and minerals checks. Deficiencies in these vital nutrients can lead to a host of health issues, hence the reason to keep a tab on your serum and intracellular level for these vitamins and minerals. However, I would recommend you ask your lab or your doctor for intracellular tests for the magnesium level. Imaging and the ultrasounds. If any of the biomarkers in these groups are out of range, then it makes sense to ask your doctor for additional ultrasound scans. This would allow you to see the physical health of the liver, the thyroid gland, and inside the gut. The thyroid ultrasound scan will check for autoimmune attacks, damages, if any, looking for the presence of thyroid nodules and cysts. The ultrasound abdomen will check for any fat deposits in the liver, the pancreas, or any stones in the gallbladder, and the health of the bile ducts. The colonoscopy will help reveal the location and severity of the gut damage, if any. These are the reasons for doing these additional imaging procedures if the biomarkers listed here are elevated. Wrapping up, here are the full list of the lab tests. This can serve as your minimum annual metabolic health report card to keep a close eye on your health. For healthy individuals, once a year is enough to run through these tests, and any red flags should be monitored, actioned, and retested at least twice yearly. These biomarkers will allow you to get ahead and take control of your health. With these detailed information, you will be able to see what health issues is developing and take the necessary steps to avoid it. This concludes this episode. Wishing you a good metabolic health.